Hi, Colin. Can you please introduce yourself for the benefit of the people in the Benfica think tank?
Hi, Benfica. My name is Collin Kelly. I'm the Vice President of Digital at the Los Angeles Football Club.
I thought it was interesting to speak to you because you've generated a new story around a new club over the last couple of years. And I thought that was beneficial because one of the things that I think Benfica are trying to think about is how they change their story. Okay, so what's defined your story? What inputs have you taken? How have you communicated it? And how have you had to change it? Presumably it's been an ongoing iterative process.
Yeah, I mean, we had the benefit of quite a long runway before we even started playing. I mean, this is my coming up on 6 years with the club, and this is only our fourth season. So we had a really nice benefit of being able to kind of take our time in the beginning and really establish who we wanted to be, what we wanted to be, what was our brand, and we did that really by just talking to our would-be fans. There was no fans at the time, obviously, because we weren't playing, but we had identified people that were into. They wanted something new, and they wanted something that wasn't existing in the market, and we were able to like listen to them, sit down, both very casually, like backyard beers and burgers kind of thing, and then both very formally in like formal design sessions with some outside advisors, and really listen to what they had to say. Um, and so yes, that was our kind of initial take, and we started to build the club around that feedback that we got early. But we've tried to continue to do that. And I don't know about changing the story. I feel like the brand, if it resonates with people, and we definitely saw that it did, especially coming, being so brand new, that story is the same. But I think you always have to listen. We still do. We are constantly surveying our fans. We do a survey after every match that we have, that we send around to everybody who attends and get their feedback on everything from concessions to parking. So we're constantly listening and trying to adjust and change what we do on an operational level to kind of suit our needs. And there's definitely areas that we're falling down on and we can do better. So we try to like listen, and the only way you really know is if you get that feedback from the fan base.
Really interesting on that survey. So just tell me a little bit more about that because surveying a lot can become uh, burdensome for the fans, and they're saying the same things. And you get, if you've got a small sample, it can be very skewed. Sometimes they need to be incentivized as well in some sort of way. So just tell me things like how is that administered? What percentage fill it up? How do you make that information meaningful on a regular basis?
Yeah, there's enough people involved where it's both good and bad. It's good in that we get input from everybody, a lot of people, different voices in the organization. At the same time, we have a lot of people saying, "Hey, do we really need this? Is this really important? Is this going to be? If we ask this question to our fan base and we get an answer, are we really going to make a change?" And if the answer is no, then we will try to pull the question out. So we really only try to keep it to the most actionable items, right? Concessions and parking things I mentioned before. We try not to over survey a select group. For example, like our season ticket members will only receive it occasionally, but people who have just attended their first match ever for us will always get it. So we kind of get that initial feedback of what people are thinking for their first time there, with coming in completely unbiased. We do so. I mentioned the post match kind of, every post match, depending on again, depending on the audiences, that'll vary, and then we do one for our entire season members, twice a year. We do a mid-season one. It's kind of a mid-season checkup. We just finished that one and got the results back. And we'll probably sit around and discuss what kind of came back and how we can make changes on that. And then we do one in the off season as well.
And just talk about social media. How do you use it? Because you've got the benefit. You've only been going 2 years as a club, and most clubs started on social. They clawed their way onto social, not really knowing what social was. You've come into existence with it as mature as it's ever been, shall we say? So, what does that? Uh, what's that allowed you to do?
Yeah,
Does that allow you to be a bit more focused, a little bit more mature in the way you've delivered the product, shall we say?
yeah. I mean, it's I look at it, what we try to do is have the social media voice be a reflection of the club. And I see a lot of clubs where their social media voice is trying to be more a reflection of what's going on in the moment, whether it's snarky or trying to, just jump in on wherever they see an opportunity to kind of get their 2 cents in. We try to just when you think of LAFC, we want to be a consistent brand across all our platforms, whether it's the app, email, social media. We use the same voice, same tone of voice, the same language. We try to, just again, because we're new, we really want to hammer out that consistency of who we are and what we're trying to be. Now, this may not be the best thing. I'm not saying this is the right answer, but this is the answer that we have kind of stumbled upon. Is that we're not going to try to we may lose engagement points. We may lose not being part of the conversation when it comes to certain maybe non LAFC type events. But at least I know that on social we've established a brand that's consistent and thorough and is everything that we're trying to be as a club. So that's being authentic to the sport, being authentic to the city.
And even my time in Major League Soccer, there was a huge push for multilingual in terms of Spanish. And when I appointed people, I had to have a Spanish speaker in my communications department and a Spanish speaker in my digital department. So, are you equal level in terms of English and Spanish? How do you bring in the Spanish side of it? Because it's particularly important in a city like LA, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, LA, half with a Latino background. But we've worked on this, and it's something we think about all the time, and we definitely have Spanish language, especially on social media channels, and we release certain pieces of content that way. But we have gone out again with the surveys. We have gone out to these our fan base time and time again. It's like, would you like more Spanish content? And it's really a resounding no. Which is again, it's kind of surprising for some people, and I think people on the outside looking in and be like, you guys should do more Spanish. But our fans don't seem to really need that or want that. We have tried doing it, and when we first started, it was like 50-50, right? Everything in English was in Spanish, and the Spanish content just never really resonated with folks. And I don't know if that's there's probably a longer conversation to do with that, to probably beyond the scope of this call. But yeah, we again, we've tried. We want to be more. I mean, anything that we can do to provide a better experience for our fans, we'll do it, or at least we'll pursue it. We'll think about it. But this is one of those instances where we try and try and try, and we never see that traction. And so at some point, being we're not a huge club, at some point we have to say, all right, our time is better spent doing something else.
Fair enough, but that's responding to the feedback. Now, a brand like Benfica, a club like Benfica, trying to internationalize their brand, for you is the battle to own your city, because you have one of the biggest Major League Soccer clubs incumbent in your city, in the galaxy. So, do you treat that as a battle? How do you try and differentiate yourself? Have you stolen some of their fans? Are you even aware of that?
I don't think that. I mean, again, in a city the size of Los Angeles, we're talking, over 20 plus million people in the metro area. If you can't make two, and again, half of them with maybe a Latino background, if you can't make two Major League Soccer teams work in that city, then you're not really you're doing something wrong. So no, I don't think we've actually even stolen their fans. I think when people, there's an assumption that we have, but when we've talked to our fans, a lot of them were just not soccer people. They just the sport as the sport has grown in the U.S., we have grown along with it, and I think we just converted a lot of people that were maybe not sports fans at all. We have definitely seen that where we look at our fan base and it's they are brand new to sport sometimes in general, and then we look at a lot of them been fans of international soccer, at the European level, or follow a national team loosely, but never really resonated with MLS until we came to town. So it's more of a converting fans from not fans than it was converting fans from one club to another. And as we talk about being international, that's definitely something that's on our radar. It's something that's on our owners' radar for sure. Is the ownership has stakes in other clubs overseas as well. So in that regard, we always try to be we have fans elsewhere in the world, is where we have pulled players from. It's very easy to kind of establish a little bit of inroads there. And the biggest thing that we have done with those folks is just to listen and recognize them, right? So if we have fans in Uruguay who tweet about the club all the time, we retweet them, we'll acknowledge them. and acknowledge that you don't have to be in LA to be a fan of our club.
And how have you used? I mean, you talked about some of your fans not potentially being soccer fans or being general soccer fans or international soccer fans. How are you using content to sort of push them down that funnel, getting them registered, getting them to buy a ticket, and ultimately be a season ticket holder? How does that process work for you?
Yeah, I mean, we only have the 17 home games a year, so we only have that, those very few physical touch points with our fan base. So we try to participate in all other aspects of their lives. And that's going to be diving into some of the cultural things, whether it's food or fashion or music and art. So we try to like speak in those languages and join those conversations with our fan base. One of the things that we have here, that's kind of, I don't know if it's entirely unique to LAFC, but there are clubs, like fan clubs within the club, that are fan clubs, and they participate in other activities. For example, we have a LAFC run club, which is run by our fans, and they meet every Saturday and they do like a little 4 mile run. We have an LAFC bike club who get together and they do like a planned bike ride. And with both these things, there's also charitable contributions. Like they'll do a run to raise money, they'll do a bike ride, and then they'll show up and donate bikes. There's a baking club, there's a gaming club, there's a book club. So there's all these like clubs within the clubs that are an opportunity for fans to, you know, kind of meet, talk to each other, establish those relationships that are tangential to the club, but still help us at the end, because it's, you're strengthening those ties, right? Their ties to other folks, which are great, but you all have that common bond of being an LAFC fan, and that just makes everything so much stronger.
Right, that's community, isn't it? Which is one of the fundamentals of growing social media and content strategy, etc. Last
Yeah,
one,
and it's funny to say I'm a digital guy, and I think this is one of the best initiatives that we have
yeah,
going.
but
And it has very little digital to do at all. The digital just acts as a means of communication, right? So it's allowing these people to kind of communicate, get together, and then establish like, all right, we're meeting here, we're going to go do this. But it's not the be all end all. It's another tool in the process.
so we're talking about internationalizing Benfica. That's one of the things that this think tank is looking at. So have we stumbled upon an idea here? Are we taking a leaf out of LAFC's book and say, well, look, if you're a Portuguese community in New York or in London or in wherever it may be, you can be in the Benfica London branch supporters club, but you might be a runner that's in there.
Yeah, get together and do a charity 5K. Get together and have a barbecue. Get together and I understand get together for match days. That's obvious, but get together, get these fans together, provide them the tools. Their sponsorship can go a long ways with some of this stuff too. And then just have them kind of like communicate. Just get again, I'm a big fan of giving people the tools, whether it's communication or otherwise, to let them kind of do what they want to do, and not just so it's not so driven by the club, that let fans kind of choose how they want to be fans, but provide that opportunity.
So last one, as I say, we're trying to help out Benfica or consider Benfica. They've got opposite problems to you. And when I say problems, challenges, I should say challenges. They're an old established club, very old established club, biggest in Portugal, looking to internationalize their brand, develop their social media. What we try to do in these interviews is bring diverse people in. Okay, you haven't had that challenge, but you've had a different type of challenge. If you had Benfica's challenge, okay, internationalizing an old established brand, what would you do?
That's a great question. I should be charging for this. No, I
I'm the consultant.
don't. I mean, I think it goes back to, man, it's such a tough one, because it's so the world is so saturated with soccer, which is a good thing, and that you can speak that language, and having that authenticity is really what I would probably lean into, being such an established club. And being, they have the opposite problem we do, where everybody thinks our fans are plastic or whatnot, because they're not real fans, because we've only been around for a few seasons. But if you're going to have that history, if you're going to have that, I mean, lean into that. Don't, I mean, not, there's thoughts about reinventing yourself, but there's also a lot to be said for embracing who you are and who you've established yourself to be, and it would be a shame to kind of lose all that history and all that gravitas that kind of goes with it being such a important and established club. Like, be that big club in Portugal, and let it be known. Portugal is one of the best sporting countries in the world. So, I would kind of just lean into like being who you are, and just and amplify it as much as you can.
Colin, thanks for taking the time, especially as we know you're on the road and travelling around at the moment as well. So thanks for taking the time.
Happy to be here.